Welcome to As Above.
So below,
I am Kisha Lee, the Psychic Yogi.
and I am Cidnee Rich, and this is Mystic Moon, the pink Scorpio full moon. We are in Taurus season, and that is what gives us this full moon in Scorpio, which I'm super excited about because it's the first lunar cycle since our eclipse season that we had. And it's perfect because it's the moon of transformation. It's the moon of rebirth. It's the moon of death. It's the moon of evolution, change, growth. And that's kind of how I want to talk about this cosmic chat, because a lot of times, the signs they're associated with, we talk about it in Astro Reiki, right? They have their modalities, their polarities, they have, what elements they're attached to. So I kind of want to go into that with this Scorpio energy because I think it really helps paint the picture of this full moon. So first and foremost, of course, the moon is full, which talks about illumination. It talks about culminations of things, coming to the end of a cycle, so to speak, right? We know the lunar cycle, we're at the end of it when it's a full moon. It's also a concept of releasing so that we can create space. So if you think about the moon, right, it's full, and then now it goes into a waning phase. So that waning phase is the moon disappearing one day at a time over the next 2 weeks, which brings us to the dark moon, which then gives birth to the new moon, the moon that we can't see in the sky because all the light has been eaten away, right, with how the planet is turning. And then you can think of that new moon, that void space, so to speak, because the light's not hitting it. We now start to fill our cup back up or fill our moon back up. So then that's when we create that manifestation energy and we're starting to like bring in those things. So with this full moon, it's a pink moon because it's connected to a flower, one of the first flowers that bloom in the spring. I can't recall the exact name, but it's a pink flower. And that's why it's the pink moon that the Native Americans deemed it. So no, the moon does not look pink, as we all know by now, but it is about the environment and what that's giving. And so it's giving pink flowers. So it's the pink moon. And with the Scorpio energy, we are in that dance with Taurus and it's fixed, right? So it's this very, I don't know about y'all, but Scorpio energy and Taurus energy have a presence. And it's a subtle presence, but it's powerful in both iterations of the energy. And with this Scorpio full moon, it's like maybe even today you felt today. Like maybe you're more present of that it's Tuesday, that it's the 23rd, that maybe you were more aware of the weather. Maybe you were more aware of your dreams. Maybe you were just more in your energy and noticing things. Because when I think of fixed energy, I was just having this conversation with someone. We talk about like fixed, mutable, cardinal, right? Fixed is like present, right? If something's fixed, it's right there. It is what it is. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can have it, you can hold it, you can feel it. But if it's mutable, it's got this flexibility to it that maybe it's hard to kind of like grasp. And then the air is even more like hard to kind of contain. Oh, I just went into elements with that. But cardinal energy is this, it's movement, right? It's moving. It's very like goal oriented, like I'm going here. So when you think about fixed energy like Scorpio and Taurus, it's saying, here I am. So I think that this full moon is very much so establishing who we are, where we are, how we feel, and how that feeling is being embodied in us and our physical being, Taurus energy. we're at a place now, since we're into the second sign of the zodiac, where the new beginning has happened. We're already in the new phase. We're already in the new energetic cycle. Now we're in this establishment energy with Taurus season. And Scorpio energy is showing us the transformation that has occurred to get us to this point in this new cycle. We talk about words all the time when we're talking about astrology, like, right? That's why I went on the whole fixed, cardinal, mutable. We use those words, but contextualizing them can be really helpful because as above, so below. So when we think about what Scorpio energy represents, I like to think about the death card, obviously, in tarot. And it's about endings, new beginnings, rebirth, transformation, evolution, growth, change. We use those words all the time, but we don't always contextualize them. They get kind of thrown around. But being that this full moon is in this fixed energy that's asking us to be very present, we're reflecting full moon. It's illuminating our full self right now. And we're being asked to really look at how we have transformed, how we have evolved, how we have changed, how we have grown. What rebirth of ourself are we experiencing? Those changes, that transformation, that evolution requires a death or an ending of an older version of ourselves. And this full moon is surrendering to that process, the release of the old and the openness and acceptance of the new. It's super deep, right? When we realize we're a different person. It's a little off-putting. Scorpio energy can be off-putting. It can be mysterious. It can be elusive. It can be a little scary because when we don't know something, that's where fear comes from. And we don't know this new person we're becoming, but we get the opportunity to choose excitement and like this sense of like, okay, clean slate or clean energy or fresh start. Or you can use your free will to look at it as scary and look at it as like you're backtracking, or that you're you can look at it in a way that feels lacking. Hopefully you're choosing the former and you're saying, you know what? I'm excited that I'm new and I feel new and I'm in new energy. And I'm accepting that I'm no longer who I was. And that's okay, because who I was not who I needed to be to get where I'm going. And then that's when we get into that mutable energy of the next season, after we get to set our manifestations in the new moon. And we start to say in Gemini, okay, let's explore this deeper, because now we know we are in new energy. Now we have space to fill back up, right? Taurus is I have, Scorpio's I transform. So we are transforming what we have. And what we have is opportunity, abundance, the ability to manifest. Taurus is very tangible. And although Scorpio is the water side of Taurus that Taurus energy, you still contain water, right? It needs to be contained, held. You need to be able to have it. So they kind of work really well with each other. And that's why, the term sister signs is much more illustrative of how the signs work together, though, those opposing signs versus opposing, right? because they do work together. That they have something that the other doesn't. And Scorpio is what fills the Taurus cup or the Taurus pentacle, so to speak, right? It fills the land, it seeds the land, nurtures the land, nourishes it, allows the thing that we're holding to grow. So I really love this energy because I think all of us as a collective are truly walking into our fulfillment, right? This card was pulled by another very intuitive human earlier today, and it makes so much sense. And it has a full moon on it. And we are in the timeline of our fulfillment. And this season is asking us to hold space for that and to acknowledge that we have evolved to this next level to receive what is for us. I also pulled, no lie, the moon card, Archangel Haniel, and it says the opportunity to improve your plans, listen to your intuition for accurate guidance, and face your fears and grow stronger. So we're at this place where we're saying the old self, the old plans, those don't align anymore. Now I'm ready to improve upon what I wanted based on who I am now, who I've grown, changed, evolved, transformed into. And I have to know intuitively that this is the right course for me, the right path for me, because it's new. And I have to trust that. I have to trust that this is right because it's new. It's not what I've been used to. So it's different, but I have to trust my intuition, my knowing that I'm where I'm supposed to be, and things are growing every day throughout the season. And that's what this full moon, I feel, is shining a light on, illuminating. So with that being said, I'm going to pull our collective tarot. Collective tarot message for the Scorpio full moon. Seven of Pentacles, Taurus and Saturn energy is our base. Seven of Pentacles is a harvest energy. It's that having, it's that cultivating, it's that reaping what we sowed energy. And so what's crossing that is a Three of Cups reverse. This is saying, and however this resonates, sometimes in order to harvest what's for us, we have to be okay with doing it on our terms and not worried about bringing other people with us. Either they get in where they fit in, or I don't know what to tell you. It's a reminder that the energy you were in doesn't mean that's where you are in. And that can include other people, other ideas, other wishes and desires. Maybe that's not what you want anymore. And that's perfectly fine to change what you consider valuable. But that requires strength. The strength of a lion, the Leo strength, that other fixed sign. It requires confidence. It requires steadfastness, determination, joy, happiness. That's what I was saying earlier, right? Choosing to look at it as excited and not scared. Strength card literally is the card of conquering your fears. It's bravery, it's courage. So it's saying in this time of rebirth, transformation, evolution, you have to be strong. You have to be brave, and you have to not let your fears, moon energy, stop you. Scorpio energy is full of fear if you are navigating it in a less than beneficial way. So it's saying it's about conquering the idea that change is inevitable and that you have changed and that you're in new energy and feeling excited about that and keeping that forward momentum, Knight of Cups energy towards your dreams, your aspirations, your goals, your creative endeavors, your relationship that you want, whatever feels Scorpio energy, good, nourishing, whatever connects deeply to your soul, that's where we're charging towards. And this full moon is lighting the path.
All right. Well, amen to all that. Received. I just so some of y'all know, I've was sedated yesterday, so I'm a little, little loopy. So we're gonna see how this goes. But I think that is so cool and timely. Just the perspective that you shared, because I don't know about anyone else, but for me, it was hitting the nail on the head. Granted, I'm a little biased, but one thing that I did notice was I always seem to, well, I've noticed that spring has been my season of rebirth since I was like 25, 24, 26, something like that. And so it's very interesting because now after your chat and sharing that information, I realized, oh, it's a Scorpio full moon. Scorpio full moon is always in Taurus season. To me, May, Taurus season is always my season of rebirth. And it just dawned on me why, because there's a Scorpio full moon, Kisha, and you have a Scorpio rising. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. No wonder. I get it now. I get it. Anyway, so I thought about that, but it's interesting because I too am in a space of transformation, and one that's very deep and on a soul level, right? It's not just like fluffy. Well, in the massage industry, we call it fluff and buff, right? It's not this fluff and buff kind of light energy. It's like on a very tangible level within me. I feel a shift, like there's been a change that has happened. And granted, a lot of it is doing the work and showing up, doing the work, but also allowing myself to just integrate, right? And reset, readjust, things like that. But it's kind of interesting because when I was thinking about like what this energy for me is, I was thinking about how earlier today on Threads, I made a post about how I was proud of myself because I literally feel like a different person. I feel like a different woman, a different Kisha than who I was like weeks ago, months ago, years ago, for sure, because I've had this deep transformative soul shift. And it's like, it's literal. Well, not in the physical, maybe just yet. Well, yeah, to some degree, but like it's visceral. It's literal and it's visceral. And I realized part of that is that transformative energy of Scorpio, but the embodiment of my earthly container of Taurus. And I was like, oh, that is also another reason why this season can feel like a rebirth that grounds you, that brings you an opportunity to presence yourself, that also helps you to look at the things that have transpired and how they have shifted, because Scorpio can be like the shapeshifter type of energy because it has Scorpio, it has the eagle, it also has the phoenix. And so it's interesting because with that being said, as the phoenix, it's burning through or coming through that fire of that comes from death, right? And so to me, that's like Pisces is the end of the zodiac. That's about death. The fiery Aries energy is that transformative cardinal sign that helps us to make those shifts. And then here we are in Taurus season. It's more about like embodiment, but being able to look at how and where we've transformed in our lives and how that affects the world around us. But one of the things that I had wrote in that post was, not only am I proud of myself and not for not being the same person I was and having that being a very significant change, but also I was like, I feel more clear, I feel more confident, I'm more self-loving, I feel empowered, I'm building, I see the changes that are happening, the different pieces coming together, right? A new structure, a new foundation is being built, and I'm all for it because it's about damn time. And and so it's like this excitement, like I know that there's change happening, there's a shift happening. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I know I'm fixated right in that direction. I am fixed, like Scorpio and Taurus energy is. I'm fixed in that energy, meaning I'm standing on business with it. Okay, it is not time to give in to other things that don't resonate with the core of who I am. Okay, and so those things are being released, and so I have to surrender those things to the realm of death, right? So that there can be a rebirth. And transformation doesn't always, when it comes down to death and transformation, doesn't always have to be something where it's completely let go of. Maybe the way that you are perceiving it, maybe the way that you feel about it shifts, and that creates a transformation, right? Taking those things that have died and allowing that to be a main component in, like, say, I guess if you look at it as like Earth, right? Taurus energy. So the fall is all about death. And then we have the spring, but everything that has died in the winter has created fertile soil, right? And to nurture those seeds of intentions that we have for our future harvest. And so to me, this is a very interesting energy. It's like about embodied transformation. It's not about necessarily what's happening. And granted, I have Libra sun, so the Aries Libra nodal shift is probably affecting me in a lot of different ways, because a lot of people are, outside of myself, are talking about how intense energy is and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of coasting through, but all right, like, I mean, there's things happening. I'm aware of a lot of shifts happening, but it's kind of like, I feel okay. So I'm just kind of cruising on through with it. But something that I thought was very interesting when it comes down to major shifts and transformation, Cidnee, that you mentioned, was that moon card with the Archangel Haniel. And I started to smile because that name, that archangel, is very significant for me, because it was during the time that I was a student in intuitive development, and we were working on certain tools that I now teach. And what happened was I was connecting to my spirit guides and my angels, and I was a little hesitant about working with spirit guides because I was like, I don't know who's gonna come up in here. A lot of spirits out there. But angels is something that's kind of universally accepted, right? Whether it's in religion or spirituality, angels are pretty common and well accepted. And so I was meditating one day using the techniques and tools, and I was like, I wonder who, like, some of my angels are or whatever. Whoever's present, can you help me with whatever I need in this particular situation? And I felt a presence, and then with my eyes closed in my mind's eye, I saw what looked like neon. It was like a neon pinkish kind of color, and I saw this name being spelled out, and I was looking at it, and it was Haniel. And I was like, Haniel. I was like, well, who is that? So I was like, well, let me go Google it. Let me go Google who Haniel is, because I was familiar with Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel. I didn't know how vast the realm of the angelic realm was at that time. And so for this name to just show itself to me in my mind's eye, I was like, oh. And of course, when I looked her up, it was everything that I was working towards at that moment in my spiritual awakening. Apparently this archangel assists with that. And so I have been feeling this deep level calling of change happening for me. And so it's very interesting. It's like another spiritual awakening that I'm going through. Except instead of this being like a spiritual awakening, this is more like an embodiment. So it's very different. It's like I'm my soul is coming through more in my physical being, but also in the world around me. I'm starting to see that reflected to me. So it's very interesting because I guess, like I said, if I'm having a second spiritual awakening, which it's spring, like I said, this is my rebirth. So it's funny that Archangel Haniel was the card that you pulled, because that's a very significant sign for me. Okay. I haven't connected with Haniel since I was like 20 something years old when I had this experience. And that's what activated my clairvoyance. And after that, I just went like ham. Like I just went all in. Kind of like a fixed sign does, right? Once it commits itself and devotes, it is up in there. So I thought that was very interesting that you brought that up. So thank you. But it's confirmation for me. Hopefully it's also confirmation for anyone else out there if you work with angels and so forth. But something also that I found was very interesting as far as what you shared with us about this energy has to deal with, like I said, the embodiment. So on a soul level, spiritual level, I know I'm changing, but then I thought about how practical is it today, out of all days. My lecture in massage school was about change and transformation, but on a scientific level. We were talking about neuroscience and neuroplasticity, and you were talking about something new, right? You have to change. You can't be the same person that you were before, right? Because when you embrace change, then or your past experience have shaped you into someone else, right? So now the person that you present in the future is going to be a variated version of who you were before. And so in class today, I was talking about neuroplasticity and how it's important that you're always learning something new, because staying inside your comfort zone doesn't give you growth. And not just from a metaphorical perspective or, physical, but like your brain actually changes its shape and size and everything the more you learn. And it's like, the mind literally is a terrible thing to waste, because every time you learn something new, if your brain doesn't actually have a past reference point, okay, it has to develop new neurological pathways in order for that information to be communicated through your brain, your mind, and the rest of your body via your nervous system, okay? And so it's one of those things where the more you continue to learn something new, the more attention you put to something, like we say, energy goes where, or energy flows where attention goes. Okay, the more you focus on something, whether it's the past or your future, that creates a communication between your nerve cells. And the more that you continue to focus on that new or stepping out of your comfort zone, then what happens is that connection between nerve cells becomes reinforced. That's how you develop new habits, new patterns. And that's why they say over time, duration is one of those aspects that helps to change your neuroplasticity, the actual physical anatomy of your brain. What happens is the more you reinforce that, you literally do become different. Your brain has transformed, like on the most fundamental level of your being. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's really cool that that happens, but that's also in a way how we get stuck in certain patterns. We get stuck in our comfort zone. We get scared of change because it's something outside of our reference point. We don't already have that experience. And that's how trauma gets triggered, because our body doesn't know the difference. Like, for example, the example I give my students is I had a client of mine who was coming to me for body work because she got in an accident several years ago and the car flipped over several times. And I was telling her that, like, asking her what do you do to try to relieve that stress from your body? And she says, I like to go running and I like to do kickboxing. And I had to tell her, your brain doesn't know this is exercise, this is a car accident. Your brain, all it knows from that traumatic experience of the car accident and you flipping several times, going into fight or flight mode, your brain does not know this is exercise. When you're hitting that punching bag from kickboxing and you're kicking, all your body knows is impact, 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 impact. And she was like, yeah, people couldn't figure out like, what was going on with me. So they said I have fibromyalgia. I said, no, your body, your nervous system has literally been overwhelmed. So much so that that information, that feeling, that sensation has spread throughout not only your central nervous system, but your peripheral nervous system. And so it's become a whole body issue, and they can't pinpoint it because it's psychosomatic. Okay, it's your mind and your body connection that are in disharmony. And so, with that being said, I said, what you need to do is, to be honest, I was like, I know you don't like, I don't know what you may not like hearing this, but you need to do something that requires touch and loving, tender care and pleasure, right? And doing things that are low impact so that your brain can remember what it's like to not be in fight or flight and survival mode. It gives your brain a different reference point. Okay. It's the same thing when you're healing other traumas, especially things like, sexual trauma, since we're talking about Scorpio and Taurus energy. Okay. Very sensual, very sexual. So let's get into it. But that's the same thing that happens to your body when you experience sexual traumas. Okay, that's why it becomes hard to open up to other people, because your body is like, nope, this feels familiar. I can't tell that it's a new person. Your brain doesn't know this is a new person. It doesn't compartmentalize. All it knows is this energy, this sound, this word, this and that reminds me of this past reference point that I've had and experienced. So that is embodied. But this new coding, this new experience is something that's unfamiliar to me. It's uncharted territory. Okay, and that is where having using your mind and your consciousness, your intention, your imagination helps to start giving your brain a different perspective and starting to form new neurological pathways, so that it really starts to kind of like send a message to the past saying, yes, we know that has happened, but we also have this. And your brain is like, well, let me explore this a little bit. Oh, that doesn't seem that bad. Let me explore a little more of this, a little more of this. This is why I keep talking about how pleasure, doing things that are pleasurable for you, especially when it comes down to touch and intimacy, whether it's with yourself or a partner. With yourself is probably a little more trusting, right? If you have trust issues, stuff like that. But it helps you to remember, even if you're getting a massage, right? Reiki, things like that. That is how that works, because it helps your body, your nervous system, to have a new reference point, okay? Of touch can be pleasurable, fulfilling. It can be sensual. It can be all these great things. It can feel good. I can have feel good experiences, okay? Or it can be over here if you want to stay in this space, okay, where your body is just stuck in this space of, touch feeling threatening to you. So that's kind of a way to shift your perspective of things, to step more into the space of pleasure, so that you can transform not only your mind, but your brain physically, so that you also internally become more present, and you become more, I want to say, like real, more authentic, because you're no longer operating from a past reference point. Granted, it's Mercury retrograde, but but outside from that, you no longer are relying on this past reference point. You created a new reference point. Okay, so now you have options, and that is how you begin to heal, how you begin to transform, how you have irreversible changes on a soul level, by not just affirming things, but really taking accountability in what's happened in the past and strategically creating a new reference point for yourself, so that each time that reference point is reinforced, eventually that becomes stronger, that grows. Your brain becomes more fixed in that energy versus fixed in what has been or what was. So yep, that's a little neuroscience for you. Okay, we talked about the spiritual aspect, right? Scorpio energy, the moon, and all the occult like stuff. And then I also told you about the scientific level. When you meditate, when you learn something new, when you embrace change, step out of your comfort zone, things like that, you're teaching your brain something new, and it is literally changing its physical set point. Okay, as well as your mental and emotional set point from what you've had. So something I would like to leave you with as I close is, it came to me the other day when I was I don't know why, but I was just something about change came up, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to embrace change. And I was like, I went through all the different ways that I could change. And I was like, well, I embrace change in my spirituality and my connection to spirit. And I just sat with that for a moment. And then I embrace change in my mindset, my beliefs, and my mental. And I sat with that for a minute. I embrace change in my emotions and how I'm feeling, how I relate to others and connect with myself and others. And I just sat with that. I said, I embrace change in my physical reality, in my health, and sat with that. I embrace change in my finances, in my career, in my business. And I just kind of went through like my life purpose, my connection to my sexuality, intimacy, things like that. And literally, I was feeling things kind of shift because once again, I made a conscious decision of something and I sat with it for a moment, noticed the feelings that aroused, and then that created a shift because then my brain had a different reference point and it was open to that. So it's going to start to explore that, creating more opportunities for that to actually happen and come into fruition. So that is how your brain works. And that is how the energy of this season works. So you're welcome.
Bruh, what? Like,
Uh,
Kisha, that I just pray and I embrace the change of this space, of this container, because literally that's crazy what you just said. I have never heard anybody, and you do it all the time, so this is nothing new, but it was so clear, it was so real, it was so understood, it was so taking all of the esoteric and bringing it into a practical way, logical, understandable space that anyone could get their head around, regardless of how they believe, who they believe, what they believe. It was literal magic because I am amazed.
you
I'm
see me?
not surprised, but
My
I'm
transformation?
amazed.
You see my transformation?
Because I just pray that somebody who has never heard us listens to this podcast episode, watches this YouTube in its entirety, because this is what Arcana ATL is doing. This is who we are. This is why we're different. And it's all because my soul and Kisha's soul found each other. And I don't call her my mentor for no reason. Oh my God, do you see the fireworks?
Yeah. Where did they come from? You know, man.
Yes, but yes, okay. All of the vibes. That was amazing. Wow. Wow. So
And there's more where that came from.
so much. So
So much.
please
Could have been a whole
like,
other podcast.
share, comment. Please like, share, comment, subscribe to our channel, to the podcast, share it. But I'm putting some type of magical spell on this episode that it gets into the ear, into the vision of somebody who can really take what Kisha does, coupled with what I do and what we've created here, and really transform that into a more evolved space. So with that being said, we will be back here for the new moon. So we're going to harvest that manifestation. And if you want to join us for meditation, which is just as transformative, join our Patreon. We're going to get into that now, and we'll see you later.